Hey Rachel,
Hello.
can you tell me a little bit what happened?
So I work at a community college, and I've been working there for about I think 6 months.
Okay.
So about 6 months, and there's a lot to learn. You have to know everything about the college. There's just so much information. So even though I've been there for about 6 months, I feel like I'm still learning.
Right.
Everything is still new for me, and I'm still learning new things every day. And I just feel like lately, recently we got a few new people working with us. So they've only been working with us since about January. So I guess my boss has been telling me stuff make sure you're listening to the new people as they're talking to students. Make sure you're looking over their work when they're doing it. I just feel like she's almost telling me to correct them if they're doing something wrong or something like that. And I don't really feel like that's not my job.
Right.
Because I feel like I'm still learning too. I only got hired maybe 3 months before they did. So, I still, even though they didn't get as much training, I still feel like we're all learning, and, I'm in the same position as them. So I don't feel like it's right for me to have to, look over them or correct them when I still make mistakes myself, and I'm working with my own students and stuff.
So you're kind of saying that you feel as if you've been working there that long that you shouldn't have to correct other people's work, and you're still trying to figure out how it all works yourself?
Yeah.
And you said you noticed it starting a couple months ago, when they got hired in January?
I just started noticing it maybe this last month.
Okay. What was it like before that?
When they first got hired, they were still mainly training with her, I think. And I would show them different. More it was and this is this, and this is that, and this is where you can get this, and if you it was more of we all kind of helped the new people with different new things.
Right.
But now that they're starting to get in the groove of how things work, I feel like she's more focused on make sure you're listening to what they're saying. And so before it was we're all kind of helping them get in the groove of how we work and what happens on different days, whereas now it's I don't know, I don't feel like I should be having to listen in and stuff.
Would you say beforehand it was more you were giving the new people a directive, this is where you find paperwork, this is where you would find different materials in the office, whereas now it's you feel like you have to almost be their boss, you're almost at the same level as her, but you don't feel like you should be there yet?
Yes.
What were the series of events that kind of grew into this conflict, would you say?
I don't know. I mean, I think that before the new workers came, that our boss was more focused on us and helping us practice or get better at the things we do. And then once they came, obviously her focus shifted to helping them get started, and because they had to learn a lot more because they only had a couple days of training compared to we had a lot. We had 2 weeks. So I think it shifted, which is fine. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like maybe it has been going on, but I haven't really noticed it until a few weeks ago. And I was man, I wonder why she always tells me to listen in and stuff like that. I don't hear her telling other people to listen in on them and things like that.
You were saying that you haven't heard her telling your other coworkers, the ones that started at the same time you did, to listen to the new people. What do you think that says about you as a worker?
I mean, I thought about it, and I was I think it means she really likes how I do things or something, or how I work with students and stuff. But I think about it that way too. I know that's how I should think of it. She just thinks I'm a good worker, and she really likes me, and I think that's that's one way I could think of it, but then there's like this other side of me, and it's like, but I feel like when I do those things, like I feel like I'm like a like authority figure, and I don't want to be that.
But that's
like,
not your place.
Yeah, like I don't want to feel like I'm an authority figure. I don't want to feel like I'm above other people. I don't anything like that. Like I don't want to feel that way, because that's not like, it's not true. It's not right. So, and I get what she's saying, because I do, like, we all help each other. So if someone has a question, I'll be like, oh yeah, it's this, that, or I'll come by and be like, oh hey, like, are you doing okay? Like, can I help you with that? Or like, so I do those little things. But to like say like, oh well, you did this wrong, like I don't feel like I don't feel like that's my spot to say that. But I think as a worker, it tells me that that I'm doing a good job myself. But at the same time, like I don't want to be like that, like authority person.
It kind of sounds like you have these splitting like views about the situation. So you have one where it's like, oh, my boss sees me as a good worker, and she sees me as being knowledgeable, and I can help my coworkers. But I don't want. Then the other one's like, but I don't want that power.
Yeah.
But when you go into work, which like thought would you prefer to have?
I mean, I try to have like the side where it's like, okay, Rachel, like she just thinks that you're like a good worker, like she likes how you do things, like, try to think of it that way. But the thing that gets me is sometimes when the newer people, there's like a mistake on their paper, something like that, she'll like tell me like, oh, see, like that's just why I want you listening in. And I'm like, I almost feel like I'm getting in trouble for it. Right. When I'm like, but that's not my job. Like you know what I mean? Like I think that's when it gets, like, that's when it starts to like scratch at me. Like that's when it gets to me. Are
you saying it gets to you when it seems like when the new person makes a mistake that you feel it's almost your fault as well?
Yeah.
Right.
Or I feel like she's, like, I'm getting blamed for it. Not that anyone gets blamed. Not that we get, like, in trouble, but it's, like, I'm the kind of person where I'm, like, when I mess up, it really bugs me. Like, it'll bug me for, like, weeks. And I won't stop thinking about it. So, like, that's why I don't like to get involved with, like, what other people are doing. Like, I think everybody should make their own mistakes. Right. And, like, learn that way. But I don't know, I just feel like sometimes she'll be like, oh, like, I want you listening, or, oh, like, this is why, or, oh, you should have told him this, and I'm like...
And if you spend so much time already worrying about the mistakes that you've made, I can only imagine how you would worry about the mistake that other people have made when you think it's your fault.
Yeah.
How would you describe the patterns of interactions between you and your boss?
I mean, I think they're good because I don't tell her, like, how I'm feeling about this. So, I mean, I really like her and I love working with her, but it's just like that one little thing that I'm trying to get through, but I want to get through it, like, by myself. Like, I don't want to talk to her about it because I don't know. Because then there's that side where it's like, well, Rachel, she thinks you're a good worker. If you talk to her about it, she may say, like, oh, like, maybe, she's not ready for that. Or I don't know. Like, I don't want to, I don't know. I don't want to make it more of a conflict, when I feel like it's more just me. Like, it's more just...
So do you would rather deal with the conflict almost internally?
Mm-hmm.
And how would you think that you could go about... What are your options of dealing with it internally?
I don't know. I guess... I think I just have to figure out different ways to think about the situation. Or, I don't know. Like, because usually, like, most of the time, like, when she tells me that stuff, it's like, well, I was working with another student, like, so it's like, I don't have time to, like, peek my head in and listen, like, while I'm, like, working with, like, sometimes I'm working with 2 students at a time, so, like.
Because if that's the case, then you shouldn't be working with students at all. You should be looking at other people working with students as opposed to actually doing your job.
Yeah. And I feel like that's her job. Like, she's the one supervising over, like, overall, like, the people working there. So she should be, like, telling others, that kind of stuff. Whereas, like, I don't feel like that's my duty. Like, it's hers.
Right. Would you say that this this internal conflict between you and your boss is affecting your work environment?
Not really. It's just more affecting me, like inside. Because then I go home and I rant about it. And I'm like, man, I don't know why she does that. You know, I like just like tell my mom everything. And then my mom usually never says anything. So, yeah. So I think it's more like inside. So I'm trying to like draw different things from my mind of like, hey, how can I deal with this? How can I look at this? You know, like, what can I do?
Looking at all your options.
Yeah.
Does it, say if you're at work, this little scenario, say if you're at work and the new person's working with a student and then she's telling you to listen in that moment when she tells you to listen in, what emotion are you feeling?
Probably frustration, because again, like I don't feel like that's my, I mean, I kind of get where she's coming from like, oh, listen, like maybe if they say something and they forget something, I can like pop in and say, oh, like don't remember, like or blah, like, oh, like remember, or don't forget,
Right.
I can like pop in and say something maybe that the new person forgot to mention, like I get that, but like, I don't know too, I feel like, it's like, I don't need to be there to be like, oh, well, that's wrong, and I feel like that's what she's almost wants me to do, but I'm like, no, like,
Like you'd rather kindly remind the other, the new coworkers, like, oh, hey, you forgot to do this and this, instead of being like, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Do you think that's what she wants you to do?
Maybe, but see, that's my thing, like even if it was in a nice way, like, oh, hey, like, double check that class, or even if it was something in a nice way, I still don't feel like that's my spot. It's one thing if I were to jump in and be like, oh, I heard you guys talking, and by the way, this and this can also happen, or you can also do this, like jumping in and adding something.
Right.
But to even just to be like, oh, like I would look at this class, I don't know, I don't feel like that's really like where I belong. Like that's not what I should be doing.
So you're expressing to me that you feel like you don't belong where it is to correct them on their work. So what does that say about your values as a person?
I think for me, I like to try to stay like more humble, so I don't want to, the moment I start to feel like, oh, like, I'm good, or, kind of like bossy or something like that, I always pull myself back and I'm like, no, Rachel, like, so I think like by her like telling me like I'm really good and stuff, I'm like, oh, okay, that's great, but I don't let it get to me because I don't want to be that person. Like we're all on the same level, like no one's better than anyone else.
Sounds like you're very conscientious of people's places.
Yeah, so I'm just I just feel like me and all the other coworkers, we're all in the same, no matter how long we've been there, we're all doing the same thing, we're on the same level, we all know different things and say things in different ways, like that's just,
Everyone has their own little strong suits.
Yeah, and I don't want people to think that I am like, I don't know, like better, or I don't know, whatever.
What do you think your boss is hoping from telling you this? Like, what is she hoping to get out of it, do you think?
I think that I don't know. I mean, I think that it helps me knowing that like I'm doing a good job there, but I think I don't really know what way she means it in, like telling me to do that stuff. I don't know like
her outcome is.
Yeah, I don't know like what she like really like what her goal is. Like, is it, I don't know, because I feel like she's more busy doing like other stuff, while the other counselor really jumps in and really helps us and really, so I don't know if it's like just because like sometimes she's not always there, so she can't always like watch over everything, or
She kind of wants you to be not so much a fill-in, but she wants you to be her eyes and her ears when she's not there. Is that what you're kind of thinking?
Maybe that's the possibility, but I don't know. And that's the thing, like I still make mistakes, so it's like I don't want to do that. Like, and then what if I tell one of my coworkers something wrong, And then, you know, I don't like getting in trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
It sounds like when you were saying how you have these two conflicting ideas, you have one where, oh, she thinks I'm a good worker, but at the same time you feel like that's not your place.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell that the values that you hold for these two conflicting ideas are very important to you. How do you hold on to these conflicting ideas?
I think because I know she probably means it in a nice way, and I know, like, you know, she means it in a nice way, and it does make me feel like, okay, like I'm doing my job right. You know, like I can rest because I know that, like, I don't have to worry about, you know, really being talked to a lot, or, you know, like I feel this, like that part of me, like that value of, like, okay, I know I'm doing my job. Like, I can go home and rest tonight. You know, I don't have to think about or worry about it.
Right.
And then I think the other side is just like a little, like, almost like a little, like, creature, like, oh, like you're annoyed because she's told you to do that. Or I don't know.
Do you think that you feel this annoyance because it's kind of conflicting with the personality that you have? Because you were saying kind of how you don't feel like it's your place to tell these people what to do, because you feel like you're all on the same kind of playing field.
Yeah.
So do you think that the conflicting ideal is because it doesn't really mesh with your personality?
Yeah, I think so. I think I just try, you know, I try to, like, take the best out of everything, and I don't want to, like, feel that way when she, like, tells me those things, you know, but yeah, like, that's, like, the conflicting part, because it's like I could just be thinking about it in a positive way, but instead, like, it just keeps, like, annoying me. So, like, that's, like, what's so conflicting. Like, why does it keep annoying me when I should just be, like, thinking about it in a positive way, or, you know, but then it's like every time, like, she tells me something, I have to be like, oh, like, I'm sorry, I was working with a student, or, like, oh, okay, yeah, like.
You have to defend someone else's mistake.
Yeah, or I just have to kind of defend myself,
right.
like, you know, like, oh, I didn't hear that, I was working with a student, or no, I don't know what she told the student because I was, you know, doing this, or, you know, I almost have to, like, kind of try to, not an excuse, but defend myself by, you know, not that no one really gets in trouble, but, like, to me, like, when you're told, like, oh, like, you know, you could fix this, or that was wrong, or you shouldn't have done that, like, to me, that's, like, getting in trouble. So I don't really mean, like, getting in trouble, like, we're actually getting in trouble, but, like, when I get
when the mistakes are presented to you, you feel like that's almost just as the same as getting in trouble.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
What are your hopes for this conflict? Like, how would you like it to, like, subside or stay there?
I think that I would just, like, maybe, like, actually, like, try, I don't know. I think I would like to, like, try to think of it in a more positive way, and hopefully, like, it'll die out as, like, as the new workers are, like, you know, starting to become, like, there for a while. And I mean, I think honestly, if I could just, like, change my mindset in a more positive way, and maybe, like, try my best. If I'm not doing anything, then maybe, like, walk around and be like, oh, hey, like, how's it going, or, like, you know, I don't know, or maybe just trying to, like, listen a little bit to, you know, if I put in any input. I don't know, try to take it more of a positive way rather than, like, being annoyed, or, you know.
So what you're saying to me is that you think that the best outcome for this would be to take it into a positive light, and maybe kind of just walk around and ask coworkers, like, how you doing? Maybe not delegate as much, or, like, tell them they're doing something wrong, but just make sure that they're on the right track. And that if they have any questions, maybe sometimes they don't want to ask questions. So you want to make sure that they're able to have the opportunity to ask questions.
See, but that's where the conflict comes in, because I don't like doing that, because I'm like, I feel like there's like an authority thing, and I feel like I'm crossing a line.
Right.
Like I'm over here, and then like when I do that stuff, I feel like I cross a line.
So the conflict is that line.
Yeah, and because none of the other like coworkers do that with the new coworkers. So I'm like, when I do that, I feel like I'm crossing a line. You know what I mean? I feel like even just like the way like how like you're saying like, oh, like is everything going okay? Like I don't know. I'm like.
You still feel like that's a line you should cross.
Yeah.
So how could we possibly think that that line isn't there?
I don't know. Maybe I'm saying it like in a more casual way, or just being like, hey, is everything good? And then if they're like, yeah, I'll be like, okay, cool. You know, like.
Maybe not so much like, dictatorship, more like kind of thing.
Yeah, more of like a friend coworker thing. Like, hey, like if you have questions, let me know. Like, or like, just I don't know.
Based on the values that you've expressed to me, I can see how that would fit a lot better, and that might make that annoyance kind of dissipate. Do you think that's what you're trying to?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is. But I think, I don't know. And maybe too, it's like the fact that I don't mind doing that. Like, it's not like, because like I like seeing like what other students are like going to school for, and like, I like getting into like all that stuff.
Right.
But I think too, like, I don't want my coworkers to look at me and be like, well, why does she do that? Like, you know what I mean? Maybe it's like also more like the way others look at me.
You would think that they would look almost not down on you, but they would think like, oh, is she my boss?
Yeah, and I don't want other people to like think of me that way. So maybe it's more like what others think of me. Yeah.
So you think going by a casual way, you think your coworkers won't be so like turned off by it?
Yeah. But then it's like at the same time, like if I'm asked to do this stuff, so it's not like I'm like doing it just because I think I'm so great, or you know what I mean? Like I'm asked to do it too, so I don't know. I think I just need like time to think about it and like really, yeah.
Do you think if the coworkers were aware of what you were trying to do, they would respond better to it? Like if you're like, oh, I was just asked to walk around, see if everyone's doing okay. Like if you have any questions, like I'm here.
I mean, that's actually a possibility. Or just be like, hey, like, I was asked to just like look at this real quick, but do you mind? I don't know. Yeah, maybe saying something more like that.
Just be like, my boss isn't here right now, so she just wanted to make sure if you have any questions, like.
Yeah. That's actually a good way. I think too, like just, making it more positive, and then if people do have a problem or something, then I'll just tell them, or I don't know. I mean, hopefully by the person I am, or by, like who I am, hopefully people will know that I'm not like that.
Right. You've worked with these people for a couple months, and think they know your personality by now?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, maybe I'm like overthinking it too. I overthink it a lot. And it's not like I don't need to go to my boss about it, because it's not, you know what I mean? It's not something where it's like, I can't stand it. It's just like, I'm trying to perceive like what she wants me to do. I'm trying to understand it. And so I'm trying to put it more in like a positive light, and try to, because she's a great person and she only wants the best for all of us.
Right.
So that's why I'm trying to figure it out like on my own. So I think that just thinking of it more in a different way, and
so you would say the outcome you'd want is maybe to think about it like in a different way. Maybe you inform your coworkers about, I'm just here to help you. I'm not here to tell you what to do.
Yeah. And that's like one thing I know I won't do. Like I'm not gonna be like, oh, that's wrong. Like I would never do that. Right. If anything, like I'm always curious myself. So if there's something, if I were to see something on a paper, I'd be like, oh, I thought that had a prereq. Oh, okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not there to like, I just want to keep learning too. So I don't know, but yeah.
So it sounds like your solution to this conflict is to deal with it internally, maybe look at it in a positive light, from your coworkers and just try to think, oh no, she just thinks I'm a good worker.
Yeah.
That's something you could do.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do.
Okay.
And then I think if it were to get worse, then obviously it's a bigger problem. But I don't see it getting like worse.
Right.
I just think it's something that I'm like
Get that
freaking out
annoyance.
about for some reason, and it's not even that big of a deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for meeting with me today, Rachel.
You're welcome.